we're back. Good evening, friends. Happy-ish Monday. I'm going to be saying ish for a long time because the world's on fire right now. And, we choose to stay as positive as we can, but I don't want to discredit the fact that the world is indeed on fire. However, to help me extinguish the flames tonight, I am blessed and feeling a lot of gratitude towards this human that is joining me tonight. And we have all the way from the other side of the city, James Baum. How are you, my friend?
How are you? Peace. How's everybody?
Oh, we're winning today. Once we got the technical difficulties sorted, we are here and we are figuring shit out. So, I mean, thank you for joining us. Tell me, like, how's your day been? How are you?
My day is going well. I can't complain. I'm blessed. I'm blessed.
That's a good way to be. That's a good way to be. But for those who don't know who you are, which is a weird question to start with, do you want to let people know who you are and kind of what you're up to at the moment?
Well, my name is James Baum. I'm one of the founding members of Public Enemy. And right now I'm talking to the great Emma G, and we're on her platform. And hopefully we could talk about some things that maybe will ease some people's hearts. And right now, just chilling in my shelter in place.
For real,
But
I mean,
really should be their shelter in place because there is a pandemic at the same time. But we understand why everything is going on the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I hear that Governor Hogan and Mayor Bowser lifted the shelter in place kind of on Friday, and now we're back on curfew until 7 p.m. We're allowed out until 7 p.m., I think. Is that the case for where you are?
Yes, I think that is the same thing here as well, because it's taking place downtown as well. The rioting and stuff is taking place downtown Baltimore as well.
Right.
The looting has started, and so that curfew is in place now.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess the pandemic's been going on for 8-9 weeks now, and initially when we chatted about doing this talk, that was the focus of what I wanted to talk about. However, obviously last week shit hit the fan in more ways than one. So I guess how are you doing with regards to, that's a really silly question. How are you choosing to show up during the last few days? I know that your daughter is in Atlanta, and
as you know, Public Enemy, we have been on the front line of this kind of activity for a long time, and this is the kind of stuff we've been doing for a long time. I think one of our biggest songs, one of them, Fight the Power, is an anthem to what's going on right now. I think one of the things we have to do is we have to think about this whole particular thing. Some of the stuff that I'm cool with, well, people need to be doing what they're doing in terms of justice. But at the same time, we can't break laws. And we need to be focusing on that. I think this has been going on so long, where this kind of outrage, why does it have to take this for us to even get an inkling of justice? It's just ridiculous that it has to go that far. And notice that the Rodney King situation, the verdict of the Rodney King situation, each time where there's clear evidence this particular time, they had to do something about it because the evidence was so overwhelming that, and this continued activity that's causing us to do what we're doing. And, you know, the support, as far as I'm concerned, is I support my people, and what we're looking for, that's justice. And that's with all of the situations from Eric Gardner to Sandra Bland to Tamir Rice, and especially how my platform started was with Mario Woods out in San Francisco in 2015. A young 26-year-old man was brutally executed by the police, and it was on video. It was nobody, you know, was convicted of that situation at that time. Then they started, as the pressure started mounting, and then we had a situation with Colin Kaepernick kneeling, and this man lost his job because of his kneeling. He didn't do anything wrong. He just kneeled. And then the pressure of him being cut off from football was really sad that we have to do that kind of stuff in order for a human being to get justice from another human being. But then that should say what kind of human being that doesn't give justice. That should tell us that.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I have several questions that I want to branch off of that. You're involved with Hip Hop for Justice. You've been involved with Hip Hop for Justice for a long time. Is that something that James Bond is doing, or is that something that Public Enemy is doing?
Well, the members of Public Enemy, several members of Public Enemy, black belts, from Pop Diesel to Brother James, Brother Roger, Brother Michael, and myself, all black belts in the martial arts, ranging from 8th degree to 6th degree to 4th degree, 5th degree black belts. And, you know, that's just our discipline. We do them on stage as a part of the performance as Public Enemy. We do military drills and martial arts on stage. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Shauna was just saying, coming, I think, from New Zealand or somewhere here in the States, he was looking forward to seeing you guys play this year. But going back to you know, this past week's events, how are you? How is this affecting your immediate community? And what do you think is the cross-sectional relationship between how the riots and the...
Yeah, repeat the question because I couldn't hear it. It went
okay,
out.
Sorry. How do you feel the relationship between the pandemic and the recent events regarding George Floyd have impacted communities?
Well, it has impacted the community great on both levels. The pandemic, as you can see, you've seen a lot of people have been died. We got what, 90,000 people have died.
I think it's what we've reached 100,000 now. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, 100,000. Yeah, it's 100,000 now. We have reached 100,000 people dead now. But then you got like what, 2 million people with it, and that number could be skewed because a lot of people haven't tested, especially here in Baltimore. You have people out on the streets since the last 2 months, and there's a lot of people not tested, you know, with it. Now, with that being said, the rioting, if you can remember the story of Moses and Aaron, in it took in ancient Egypt at that time, there was a lot of things plaguing Egypt. it was because Pharaoh wouldn't allow the children of Israel to go, and God sent a plague. And he kept sending plagues after plague after plague because the Pharaoh at that time wouldn't submit. Well, now we have a modern Pharaoh, which is Mr. Donald Trump, and I won't say anything other than that. You know, just giving the president the seat of presidency a respect, even though the person is, a lunatic, and I just say it like that. But it's the same thing. We have a pandemic going on, and this guy is fueling a race war, and it is just simple. You're the president of the entire country. There should be some type of dialogue with the leadership of Black America, and go from there, because justice is going to be served one way or another, either through what's going on or by God himself, according to that story in Moses and Aaron, that whole story of ancient Egypt and the children of Israel. We are living in a modern situation right now, because if you look at the history of Black people in this country, it's 400 years, over 400 years in this country. And that's the same picture that we can pull out of the Bible that fits Black people in America right now.
Yeah, yeah. When you're looking at the music that you guys have created over the last 20, 30 years, there's obviously a lot of cross-section between, relevancy between Fight the Power right through to modern day. I mean, I was born when, I wasn't even born, I think, when you guys first started playing. But when you look at how audiences rushed to your messages back then compared to how they're, resonating with those messages now, how do you feel about that? What does that look like?
Well, I think it's amazing. Like, I get an example of like U2. Public Enemy was out on tour with U2 in '92. It was called the Zoo TV tour. That was probably one of the biggest tours that we've ever been a part of. Maybe like, 30, it might have been 100,000 people in those arenas, maybe 40, 50,000 people a night. Well, every other night, because it took 36 hours to actually set up those, the whole setup of sound and everything for the Zoo TV tour. But being able to go across generational lines and be relevant, I think when you speak to the people, I think it was Nina Simone once said, the role of an artist is to speak to the times in which we live. And we have been blessed to speak into the times that we live in and pass that message on to other people as well. And each artist that comes on, and this is no disrespect, and if it is a little bit, tight for some people, so be it. Because if you're thinking about your brand and not thinking about what is affecting the people right now, then you should feel every inch of what's being said about you. I think Jamie Foxx for coming on and speaking out, and Spike Lee. And Spike Lee was one of the ones who created the video Fight the Power for Public Enemy.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, you're frozen.
This is what an artist is supposed to do, speak to the times.
Right. 100%, 100%. And you do a great job of it. I'm really, really grateful. Can you tell me a bit more about your work, both individually and as a collective, with Hip Hop for Justice?
Hip Hop for Justice came into existence in 2015 at the event of Mario Wood being gunned down by the police, shot over 20 or 30 times, hitting him in the face, the back, the chest. And, one of our leaders, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, called it a hate crime, because we talking trained men. There shouldn't be that amount of firepower for a 26-year-old child, that they could have apprehended him with ease. We're talking people are trained. There shouldn't be deadly force on a situation like that. And it's been like that for us since we hit the shores of North America, in the holds of ships. That's been that way for us. So I think, that was one of the reasons why Hip Hop for Justice came into existence. But it's personal to me because my youngest brother, who's no longer with us, in 1992 was gunned down by Palm Beach County Sheriff in 1992. This was before cell phones and video. You can video and go viral. This happened in 1992 to my family. My mother's son laying on the pavement in Pahokee, Florida. So this is all personal to me. And just a few days ago, my young daughter was so overwhelmed that she wanted to do something. She wanted to be a part of it because this has never happened in her lifetime. I think when she was born, we had the event 9/11 when she was just maybe 7 months old when this happened. Like, I went to support my oldest daughter, whose great-grandfather died in Norfolk, Virginia. And then the following day, 9/11 hit, and it was just crazy. Now, at that time, I worked for the state of Maryland in corrections at that time. Public Enemy had took a hiatus for maybe, I don't know, we took a hiatus for maybe about 3 or 4 years or something. And I have a background of security, so I went into corrections, and we had to report to our institutions. And it was so hard. That situation was horrible as well, but we won't get into that one. That one is, it's some intricacies to that as well. But get back on track, was Hip Hop for Justice was born out of that. Brother Miles had called me, and this was the golden anniversary of the Super Bowl. If you all can remember, Cam Newton was the Carolina Panthers, and I think Mr. Tom Brady, those guys was playing for the golden anniversary of the Super Bowl. Well, none of this was being shown on television. So Miles Muhammad from San Francisco area called me. And when he called me, he told me about Mario Woods, what happened. Have you heard anything? I said, no. He sent me a link, and I saw the link, and I saw the young man you hear everybody saying, put it down. He had a butter knife or something. Now, we're talking trained men. I know men in the Nation of Islam, and they don't carry guns, but a person with a blade, that's almost elementary of taking that. You can just take that. Your training allows you to do that, but gun down is unnecessary when you have enough police out there to apprehend the person. You don't have to kill him. They killed this young man, and without impunity, they just killed him. And then after that situation, we had several other situations. Trayvon Martin, Sandra Bland, Eric Gardner, Castile, several others, and all the way up to now, Breonna Taylor, and various, it's over 200 killings in just a few years now. And it's mounting. And right now, when you go through a traumatic situation what happens during that traumatic situation, you just blank out. You just zone out. Some of the men in the military, when they go through this particular war zone, they just blank out. So now you having people who are doing the same thing when there's no justice. There's absolutely no justice. And when you don't get justice, sometimes what happens is extreme situations, people strap on bombs and go in and blow up and kill innocent people. Not saying that is right, but that's what happens during situations where traumatic situations take place, and you just zone out. You temporarily insane, and you just go. You want somebody to hear your cry, so the cry is for justice, and nobody hears your cry, so you start doing things that causes real problems, and that's one of them. You see our brothers and sisters in the Middle East strapping themselves with bombs, and then they just go there and blow up because the people that they're against have all the power. And the same thing right now, we have a community that's up in arms because of injustices. So that's what's going on, and that's how the Hip Hop for Justice came to birth.
Thank you. There's been a lot of talk, at least in my circles, around different narratives as to who's to blame when it comes to this sort of stuff. With people talking about George Soros being behind it, or an economic, imbalance being the cause of this, and some people just flat out saying that it's all due to hate crimes and things. Obviously, it's a really complicated and complex situation. But
it is.
Yeah. Do you
yes,
have any?
It's very complicated.
Do you have any sort of thoughts on, the conspiracy theorists that are talking about it all being orchestrated?
Always going to have somebody talking conspiracy and talking. It's various things, but when you deal with injustice as we have endured injustice in this country, we've endured it. There's some heinous thing. There's a book called Without Sanctuary. Every indigenous person on the planet Earth should be looking at that book to see what happened, because my story is no different than your story if you're indigenous, and what has happened to each individual or race of people who are indigenous, because I'm a part of two people. My father's family is Choctaw Indian here in Mississippi. My grandparents were born on that Indian reservation some years ago. My grandfather will probably be in his hundreds right now if he was alive, my grandfather and grandmother. But they all were born on the Indian reservation in Choctaw, Mississippi. And so we're dealing with the injustice of indigenous people's land being taken from them, whether it's Australia, New Zealand, whether it's America. We say America, we say African American, but neither name is ours. We're not African nor American, because those names was given to us by the very people who enslaved us. So these are not our names. We have to deal with what it is we have to deal with in this present state now. And that goes for any indigenous person on the planet. The only way we're going to change our circumstances if we unite and do it ourselves, because it's never going to come to us in any other form other than what we have been getting right now.
Facts. Last night I held a real talk session with my collective of musicians that I manage, and one of the questions that we were asked was, how is it that we can show up as people of color, as Indigenous peoples, to help empower our light and bright friends, to be better allies, and to be, if they're stuck in their bubble, how can we empower them to
I think
yeah.
I think our we empower each other when we unite. It's more power when you have a hand and you ball your fists up. Now when you strike, it's more power when you strike now. But if we unite, we change our conditions overnight, is because when you're united, if you got 50 million people and they all united moving as one, then you change conditions overnight. I admire the Jewish people who only maybe 1 or 2% in this country, but they pack a powerful punch from business to law to government. And this is something that, as indigenous people, we want the same thing. And I think it comes through us uniting there, where we don't have to be in the streets and rioting and looting or anything like that. Not to saying that what's going on it's going on because of injustice, and it's going to continue to happen as long as we stay apart. Let's not have death be our division. Let's unite. Let's come together, and then we can change these policies that's taking place, because it shouldn't be where we have to do this to get justice. It should be it's simple and plain. We saw it on the video. The man begging and pleading for his life, and then all of a sudden 9 minutes go by and he's not responsive no more. He's gone. That should have been cut and dry, not third-degree murder, because if we look at the evidence clearly, that's first-degree murder. He had his hand in his pocket, and really what that technique is, he's pressing down on his leg and he's putting more pressure on his neck. That's a tactic that they use. That's what they call in Nazi Germany a Kostako tactic.
Okay.
Yeah.
How you brought up the evidence that is the footage, the exorbitant footage that we have of last week's events. Obviously this has been going on for generation after generation after generation for people here in the States. With the introduction of camera phones, do you feel that it has simply amplified the awareness of the issues, or do you think that racism and acts of bigotry have genuinely increased over the recent years?
I think it has genuinely increased even more with the technology this is stuff that's been taking place as long as it's over 400 years, where this has been going. What's going on now is just bringing it to the light. This is stuff that we wouldn't talk about. Now it's full blown, and the more we bring light to it, the more the world sees what's happening. But let me say, while you still have this little window to change the conditions that it's in, I think, and I'm going to cut this off by saying, tune in July 4th. Tune in. Find an internet somewhere July 4th and tune in. I think you'll get your answer then.
Okay, that sounds ominous. Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time and your love and empowerment that you're sending out to people. Is there anything that you would like to say as like a last kind of message of empowerment and hope and strength for people?
I think what's taking place all over the country right now, I think young people who really want to commit to doing something should join an organization. Join the NAACP, join the Nation of Islam, join CORE, join the Southern Christian Leadership, join an organization that deal with this here kind of things every day. And, you know, it'll give you some type of guidance in which we need so badly. And this would help us kind of like, because we're facing guns, we're facing tanks. And I seen a tank in Los Angeles. I mean, it was so advanced. I was like, damn, is that a police issued tank? It was scary. But the National Guards are in the streets right now. And, you know, like I said, my young daughter went into it the other day, and, you know, it was scary because I couldn't reach her for hours. And then we finally reached her and we got her home safe. But the whole idea out in the streets, you know, you don't know what can happen out there. But I think if we unite, that's the whole point. Us uniting in an organization and moving as one. Like I said, if you take five fingers and ball them up, you got power. And you can see the impact of a fist when it's all together. Imagine 50 million people uniting with other indigenous people and moving forward. We can change our conditions overnight.
I love that. Thank you. And again, thank you for taking your time to hang out with me tonight.
Emma, anytime.
And I owe you another dinner, I believe. So we will get that organized.
Yes.
And I'll make sure it's vegetarian for you.
Thank you.
To everybody who's tuning in, of course, this is James Bond from Public Enemy. If you would like to get involved in the cause, please reach out to one of your local organizations. If you are from overseas, there are a number of organizations that you can get involved with as well. Of course, we know that New Zealand, London, all the major cities of the world are banding together to march the streets of your local cities in solidarity with America, with the people of America, I should say. So for that, we thank you.
Well, I love what you're saying. I think, you know, you're right on it when you say people getting involved with organizations. But one of the things the members of Public Enemy, we say we're earthensons. And one of the things my brother Chuck, he always says is that, you know, governments are the cancer of the world. And people, once people get together, once cultures come together, it changes things. So that's one of the things. You've been an artist and we've been an artist. Once artists get involved, we change everything. I'll give you a history lesson. Mao Zedong, the prime minister, the first prime minister of China, one of the things he did was to change what was going on in his country. And he had a war that was going on with the English, the Queen of England, or the country of England, with them pushing opium in his country. He asked the artists of that day to participate in that revolution. And revolution means complete change. And that's what happened. It changed in China. So we're saying today in America, 2020, that the artists, the people who are not speaking up at this time, but speak up. Come on, speak up. Don't be afraid. Talk about this here. We can change this overnight. The artists can do this because you speak to thousands to millions of people on your records. People are buying. And if you said one thing that can change the thinking of the individuals who you are, that's your fan base, it can change tomorrow. It can change overnight. So the Oprah Winfrey's, the Tyler Perry's, all of them. I can call some of them. I don't. But you're always in, you know, talking about certain things. But I mean, there's no disrespect to any of these great people. But speak to this. You're artists. Nina Simone said, the role of an artist is to speak to the times which we live. Speak to this, artists, entertainers. You're not going to hurt your brand. You're only going to hurt you when you don't speak to it. Peace.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you spread love like it's going out of fashion. Be your own kind of superhero. And please don't forget to call your mum.
Peace.